I guess this is where I become that girl on the internet with a throwaway account, typing out the story I swore would never be mine. I'm 29, and until 3 months ago, I honestly thought my life of not perfect, but normal. I live in Amsazat City. I have a job that pays rent and leaves just enough extra for weekend coffees and impulse books. В мені був чоловік, за яким я діла квартиру, рахунки, як я думала, життя. Let's call him Leo, 31. We'd been together 4.5 years. Met at a birthday party, did the whole friends to something more thing, moved in together after a year and a half. Nothing explosive. No crazy rom-com story. Just two people who fit together comfortably enough to start planning one day. One day, we get a bigger place. One day, we'd travel properly, not just weekend trips. One day, we'd think about kids. One day. If you'd asked me 6 months ago to rate our relationship on a scale of 1 to 10, I probably would have said 7.5. Solid. Room to improve. Normal arguments. Nothing that screamed, red flag, loud enough for me to hear over the sound of my own optimism. There were, looking back, cracks. Little ones. He'd started working later. The new project is insane. He'd say, dropping his bag and collapsing onto the couch, smelling like coffee and tiredness. He'd be on his phone more, screen tilted away just enough that I couldn't see, but not enough to make it obvious. Relax, I'm not that interesting. Just memes and group chats. I believed him, because when you love someone, you don't assume every turn screen is a secret. You assume it's nothing. You assume good things first. The first time I felt something was off, enough to put a name to it, was a Thursday. He said he had an after-work thing. Some networking event. It's basically mandatory, he said, pulling on the blue shirt I liked on him. I won't be late. He left at 6. At 9, I texted, "How's the boring event going?" No reply. At 10, I texted again. "Alive?" Nothing. At 11:14, he finally answered, "Sorry, phone died. Heading home soon. Love you, Red Heart." I stared at the message, and for the first time, instead of feeling reassured, I felt itchy. Because I suddenly remembered seeing his phone on 78% when he left. Because I know he keeps a charger at work. Because phone died is such a lazy, basic excuse. I try to brush it off. He came home around midnight. Hair a bit messy, cheeks slightly flushed. Smelled like alcohol and perfume. Not my perfume. I remember standing in the kitchen when he came in. He kissed my forehead, not my lips. "How was it?" I asked. He rolled his eyes. "So boring. You would have hated it." I wanted to believe him. Maybe in that exact second, I still did. But something in my chest felt wrong, like a quiet alarm. "Who was there?" I asked. He shrugged. "You know, the team. Boss. Some clients." It was nothing. I don't know why, but I said, "Anyone I know?" He gave me that look, the one he uses when he thinks I'm being weird. "Why?" he said. "You jealous or something?" It was a joke, sort of. We both smiled. But the smile didn't reach his eyes, and it left a taste in my mouth I didn't like. I didn't push. That was my first mistake. The second mistake came 2 days later. He was in the shower, and his phone buzzed on the nightstand. Normally, I ignore it. I'm not that person. I've never gone through someone's phone in my life. But it buzzed. Then again, and again. Curiosity got the better of me in a stupid, impulsive way. I glanced at the screen. There were 3 messages from a contact saved as just a letter. And, "Did you get home okay?" Winking face. "Still thinking about last night. You owe me a drink for how good I made you look in front of your boss," face with tears of joy. My stomach dropped. I didn't open the chat. I didn't unlock his phone. The preview alone felt like enough to put a crack straight through my ribs. I remember standing there, listening to the shower run, every drop loud, thinking, okay, it could be innocent. Maybe N is a guy friend. Maybe last night means something else. Maybe still thinking about last night is just a joke. Maybe. I put the phone down like it was hot. He came out of the shower, towel around his waist, humming something. I watched him dry his hair and wondered if cheating has a smell. If guilt changes the way someone carries themselves. It didn't. Not obviously. That night, I barely slept. The next morning, I woke up to an empty bed and a note on the fridge. Early meeting. Didn't want to wake you. Coffee on the counter. Red heart. My anxiety mixed with anger. A weird cocktail that made it hard to breathe. I stared at my own reflection in the microwave door and thought, if something is happening, am I really going to just stand here? So I did the thing I swore I'd never do. I opened his laptop. We share the Wi-Fi. Sometimes I use his laptop if mine's updating or dead. I knew the password. He'd never made a secret of it. The email tab was open. I didn't find anything there. Just work, newsletters, the usual clutter. Then, like some cliche, my eyes drifted to the top right corner. WhatsApp web. He was still logged in. My heart started hammering. I hovered the mouse over it, feeling like I was standing on the edge of a cliff. Слухай, я розумію, як це звучить. Snooping. Invading privacy. I know. Even in that moment, a part of me whispered, if you look, you can't unsee it. If you find nothing, you'll feel like a psycho. If you find something, I clicked. His WhatsApp popped up. The list of chats slid into view. Family, friends, work groups, a couple of contacts I didn't recognize. And then, near the top, a chat with the letter in and a small red heart next to it. I clicked on that one. The last message, the ones I'd seen on his lock screen, were there. But there were more. So many more. A month's worth of messages, at least. Maybe two. At first, it was flirty in that surface-level way. You're actually kind of cute for someone who hates meetings faced with tears of joy. Leo, you say that now. Wait until you see me in a real shirt. In pics or it didn't happen eyes. Then photos. A selfie of him in the office bathroom, adjusting his tie. One where he was sitting across from someone at a bar. I could see a sleeve, a hand, long nails. Her face kept just out of frame. Leo, you're trouble. You like trouble. I scrolled. The tone shifted slowly from flirtation to something heavier. More intimate. They had inside jokes. Complaints about coworkers. Comments about TV shows they had to watch together. There were voice messages I didn't dare click on. My eyes scanned the text, heart pounding so hard my vision blurred in places. If your girlfriend knew how much you talk to me, she'd kill you faced with tears of joy. Leo, she thinks I'm boring. She doesn't notice half the time when I come home late. That's sad. Leo, it is what it is. That line hit me like a slap. I scrolled further. My hands were numb. There were details, specifics, times, places. Same hotel as last time. I like the view winking face. Leo, you're the view. My whole body went cold. Screens are weird. You can hold your entire life in your hands and watch it implode in silence. I kept going, like a person pressing on a bruise to see if it still hurts. At some point, it wasn't about finding out if he'd cheated. That part became obvious. It was worse than that. I wanted to know how long I'd been stupid, how long I'd been living next to a stranger. The earliest flirty messages were from almost 5 months ago. 5 months of him lying to my face, kissing me goodnight, saying love you over breakfast, sharing blankets and bills with me, while building a parallel life with someone else. Someone who got the version of him I thought belonged to me. I don't know how long I sat there before I realized my cheeks were wet. Tears had been falling silently without me noticing, soaking into my collar. I closed the laptop softly, like it might wake up and bite. Then I did something that surprised even me. I didn't smash anything. I didn't call him screaming. I didn't text Anne with insults. I took a notebook from the drawer and started writing. Dates, times, screenshots I needed to take, things I didn't want to trust my memory with. Не знаю, звуки в мені взялася ця холодна раціональність. Maybe it was self-defense. Maybe it was the part of me that works in logistics, the part that knows the importance of documenting everything if you want a case to hold. I took pictures of the screen with my phone, every incriminating section, not because I wanted to expose him, but because I needed proof for myself. Because I knew there would come a moment when he'd look me in the eye and say, "Dash, it's not what you think." Cheaters always say that. When I was done, I sat on the kitchen floor and stared at nothing for a long time. And then, quietly like a wave. Anger. Not hot. Not explosive. Cold. Precise. By the time Leo came home that evening, I had made a decision. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to explain to him why what he did hurt. I was going to watch him lie. and I was going to let him do it all the way because I needed to know who I'd really been living with. He walked through the door around 6:30, called out, "I'm home," like nothing was wrong. I was sitting at the table with a cup of tea I hadn't touched. He stopped when he saw my face. "Hey, you okay? You look like you've been crying." Interesting, I thought. He sees that, but not the part where he's the reason. "We need to talk," I said. His shoulders stiffened for half a second. Then he relaxed them like he'd practiced. "Okay," he said slowly. "About what?" I gestured to the chair across from me. He sat down. There was a beat of silence. Then I said, as casually as I could manage, "Who is in?" His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. It was so small I might have missed it if I didn't already know. He laughed. "What? In?" I repeated. "The person who says you owe them a drink for making you look good in front of your boss." Color drained from his face just a shade. Not a full collapse. A subtle shift, like clouds moving in front of the sun. "How do you know about that?" he asked. "Your phone kept lighting up the other night," I said calmly. I saw the preview. It stuck with me. I watched his eyes carefully. The way they flickered to the side for a split second before returning to mine. The way his mouth pressed into a thin line. He shrugged. "She's just someone from work. You know, we have a new client? She's in the team from their side. We had to make a good impression." "Is that what you call it?" I asked. "Making a good impression?" He frowned. "What are you insinuating?" I tilted my head. "Do you want to stick to the story, where she's just someone from work? Or do you want to try a different version?" His frustration appeared fast. Too fast. "Okay, you're clearly upset about something. Just say it, Anna. Don't play games." Games. Funny word choice. I took out my phone, opened one of the screenshots, and slid it across the table. He glanced down. It was the one where he said, "She thinks I'm boring. She doesn't notice half the time when I come home late." And then replied, "That's sad." And he'd answered, "It is what it is." He went very still. His nostrils flared once. He swallowed. Then, slowly, he pushed the phone back toward me. "Anna," he said, voice low, "you went through my messages?" "I went through your laptop." I corrected. "You left WhatsApp web open. That's a violation of my privacy." I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. "Are you serious?" He leaned back, crossing his arms. "Yes. You invaded my privacy. You read my personal messages. How am I supposed to feel safe if my own girlfriend spies on me?" There it was. The shift. The flip. The attempt to drag the spotlight off his behavior and onto mine. "If your privacy is full of this," I said quietly, "maybe it deserves to be invaded." He shook his head, disgusted. "You don't get to decide that. You don't get to call it privacy when it's an affair." The word hung between us like smoke. He flinched, but briefly. Then his face smoothed out. "This is not an affair," he said. "Really?" I smiled tightly. "Then what would you call it?" He hesitated, and then, unbelievably, said, "It was just flirting, a way to cope with stress. It didn't mean anything." That sentence, "it didn't mean anything," did something to me. It loosened something in my chest that wasn't supposed to be loose. "Did you sleep with her?" I asked. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "No." I knew, in that exact second, with more certainty than I've ever felt about anything, that he was lying. Because I'd seen the messages about the hotel. Because I'd seen the "next time bring that gray shirt, I like it on the floor" line. Because normal coworkers don't send each other black heart emojis at 2 a.m. I didn't say any of that yet. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table. "I want to give you one more chance," I said softly. "One chance to tell me the truth. Just once. Just here, in this kitchen. Nobody else has to know. But if you lie to me again, we're done." His jaw clenched. For a moment, I thought, hoped, he might break. That maybe the weight of it all would finally crack open whatever shell he was hiding in. Instead, he chose violence. Quiet, psychological violence. He scoffed. "You're being dramatic." My hands curled into fists in my lap. "Dramatic?" I repeated. "Yes," he continued, gaining confidence in his narrative now. "All I did was talk to someone. I flirted. Maybe I crossed a line. But I didn't cheat on you. You're blowing this way out of proportion." "Leo," I said slowly, "I know you booked a hotel with her." His eyes flickered. "No, you think, he snapped. "You're putting your own meaning on everything. You told her she was the view." I joke like that. I joke like that. You said she made you look good in front of your boss. She did. She took over when I messed up a slide. It was a joke. You told her your girlfriend thinks you're boring. He looked at me coldly. Sometimes you do act like I bore you, Anna. You barely ask about my work anymore. There was again the twist. Somehow this was now my fault. I work 10-hour shifts too, I said, voice shaking. I come home exhausted. I still try. I still ask how your day was. I don't go to hotels with people and tell them my boyfriend doesn't notice me. He stood up suddenly, chair scraping loudly. You're not listening. I'm listening to you lie to my face. He slammed his hand down on the table. Fine, he burst out. You want the truth? I like the attention. Okay. I like feeling wanted. I like feeling like someone saw me as something other than this predictable guy who sits on the couch with the same girl every night. The words sliced cleanly. Same girl, I repeated quietly. He didn't take it back. He just breathed heavily, anger radiating off him in waves. So what now? He demanded. You're going to leave me? Throw away years over some messages. I looked at him for a long time, and in that silence, I realized something that changed everything. He wasn't sorry. He wasn't afraid of losing me. He was afraid of consequences. There's a very big difference. I stood up too. My legs felt strange, like they didn't quite belong to me. Yes, I said. I think I'm going to leave. His eyes widened just a fraction. Come on, he scoffed. Don't be ridiculous. Where will you go? You can't afford this place alone. Oh, so that's what he thought this was. A bluff. A wounded reaction. Something I'd get over if he just outlasted the initial storm. I smiled. It surprised even me how steady it felt. That's something I'll have to figure out, I said. But I would rather live in a tiny room alone than share this apartment with someone who looks at me and sees the same girl. He went quiet. The anger drained from his face, replaced by a calculating stillness I hadn't seen before. It made me shiver more than the shouting had. You're really doing this, he said slowly. Yes. And what are you going to tell people? He asked. That I cheated on you? With what proof? Some screenshots you took without my consent? Some jokes out of context? I pulled my phone from my pocket and met his eyes. I don't need to prove anything to anyone, I replied. I know what I saw. I know how you made me feel. That's enough for me. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he laughed. Quietly. Darkly. Fine, he said. Go. Pack your stuff. Run away. But one day, when you realize nobody else will tolerate your paranoia, don't come running back. I didn't answer. I walked past him to the bedroom. For the next hour, I packed in silence. I took clothes, documents, my laptop, a couple of books that felt like anchors, toothbrush, chargers, things that made me feel like a person and not just someone fleeing a crime scene. He came to the doorway once, leaning against the frame, watching. You're overreacting, he said. I folded a sweater. You're throwing away everything we built. I zipped my suitcase. You'll regret this. I lifted the handle. When I brushed past him, dragging the suitcase down the hall, he grabbed my arm. His fingers dug into my skin just enough to leave a mark. I didn't cheat on you, he said through gritted teeth. I looked down at his hand, then met his eyes. You did something worse, I said softly. You made me feel stupid for trusting you. He let go. I walked out, closed the door behind me, and for the first time in 4.5 years, I stepped into a version of my life that didn't have him in it. At least, not physically. In my head, he stayed. For a long time. You asked for Damnivnal. So, Oshuyeskaju. That was 3 months ago. I moved in with a friend temporarily. I'm saving for my own place. I'm in therapy again, working through the ways I let myself accept 7.5 out of 10 and fine as enough. I blocked his number, unfollowed him everywhere. 2 weeks after I left, he emailed me. The subject line was, "Can we talk?" I didn't open it. 3 days after that, one of our mutual friends told me he'd posted a long, dramatic story on Instagram about being betrayed by someone he loved who didn't even try to work on things. She said he'd heavily implied I was insecure, controlling, and addicted to drama. I laughed when she told me. It hurt, but I laughed. Because of course he'd twist it. Of course he'd rewrite the story in a way where he was the victim. I still didn't reach out. 3 nights ago, I got a message from an unknown number. You don't know me, but you should. Amen. I stared at it for a long time. Then another came. He told me you were crazy. I believed him. I am sorry. I didn't reply. The third message said, if you ever want to compare stories, I can show you what he was telling me about you. Might help you feel less alone. I turned the phone face down on the table. Maybe one day I'll answer. Maybe one day I'll want to see proof that the man I loved was living 3 different lives at once. But not yet. Right now, the most powerful thing I can do is accept that I will never get the whole truth. Not from him. Not from her. Not from anyone. The secret part of this story isn't what he did in hotel rooms or which messages he deleted. The real secret, the one I'm still learning, is this. Sometimes closure isn't something you get. It's something you decide to give yourself, even if half the story stays in the dark. I don't really know how to describe the strange lightness that comes after you finally step through pain. Not the lightness of joy, no. It isn't happiness. It's something else. It's the moment your body is still programmed to fear, but your mind is too exhausted to obey. It's waking up not because you want to start a new day, but because the old one is definitely over. The first 2 weeks after I left Leo felt like living inside a snow globe someone kept shaking. Waves of quiet numbness followed by sudden tears. Moments of relief followed by humiliation so sharp it felt like a paper cut across my heart. Anger, confusion, denial, shame, disbelief, all of them fighting for space in my chest like tangled wires. But one emotion stayed longer than any other. A strange sense that I was living next to my own life rather than inside it. Like I was watching myself as a character in a story I hadn't written. I stayed with my friend Mia. She had a bright little apartment with white furniture, soft rugs, and the kind of warm clutter that makes a home feel lived in. Framed photos, postcards, plants that looked too healthy to be real. I slept on her couch, and she made tea every night, and she never asked me to explain everything before I was ready. For that alone, I think I'll be grateful to her forever. But even with her kindness, I felt wrong inside my own skin. When you love someone for years, and then you find out they built a secret world without you, it reorganizes your insides. It makes you question your own judgment, your memories, your instincts, your worth. It makes you wonder whether you ever knew yourself at all. Because if the person you chose turned out to be a stranger, what does that say about the person who chose him? I didn't have the answer. I still don't. The first message came after 10 days, from a number I didn't recognize. Leo, can we talk? I stared at it, thumb hovering over the screen. For a moment, one brief, stupid moment, something in me softened. Not because I wanted him back, but because part of me wanted to hear something like an apology. Something that made sense. Something human. But I didn't reply. Mia saw me staring at the phone and said gently, "Don't." Not yet. She was right. Hours later, he texted again. "Leo, I think you owe me a conversation." I blinked. I owe him. I put the phone face down and didn't touch it for the rest of the night. Week 3 was when the real unraveling started. Not within me, but around me. It began with our mutual friend, Sarah, sending me screenshots from Leo's Instagram story. A dramatic paragraph over a black background. Sometimes the people you give everything to are the ones who destroy you. Not everyone communicates like adults. Not everyone values growth. Some people prefer running away to facing themselves. Underneath were dozens of supportive comments. "You deserve better, bro." "Some women are so ungrateful." "Stay strong, king." "That's on her, not you." I laughed when I saw it, but it wasn't amusement. It was the laugh you make when you feel something inside you break and reshape into something harder. Because of course he'd twist it. Of course he'd reframe himself as the victim. Of course he'd say I abandoned him because I'm dramatic or insecure. I didn't respond to Sarah's message. She didn't press. Week 4 was when In contacted me, and that was the moment the story took a different shape. It happened at 2:13 a.m. I was half asleep when my phone vibrated on the nightstand. Unknown number. I opened it because I wasn't fully awake. You don't know me, but you should. I sat up slowly, sleep burning off me like fog in sunlight. Another message came immediately. "In. I'm in." My mouth went dry. I hadn't said her name to anyone. Not out loud. Not even to Mia. I stared at the phone, pulse thudding in my throat. "In. Leo told me you were controlling." that you looked through his phone constantly, that you didn't trust him, that you made him miserable. A wave of nausea hit me. Another message. And I believed him. I'm not proud of that. I swallowed hard. Silence stretched for a full minute before a third message came. And he told me things about you. Personal things. Things I don't think partners should ever share with someone outside their relationship. My stomach dropped. I typed slowly. Me, what things? Three dots appeared, then disappeared, then reappeared. Finally, in. I think you should see the messages. The ones he deleted from his phone. The ones he didn't expect you to ever find. My hand shook. Was I ready? Did I want to dig deeper into this hole? Would any truth she showed me actually help? But something inside me whispered, better to know than to wonder. So I wrote, me, send them. She did. Screenshots arrived in clumps, 10, 15, 20 at a time. Hours of scrolling. Days of conversations. My eyes scanned message after message. My mouth went dry. My heart went numb. Leo hadn't just cheated on me. He hadn't just lied. He had waged a quiet little psychological war. Screenshots of him telling her, she's clingy. I stay with her out of guilt. She's not pretty unless she tries really hard. Living with her feels like living with a roommate who doesn't pay rent. She doesn't satisfy me emotionally or physically. I feel like I'm her whole world, and she's a burden on mine. She has no ambition. She's scared of life. I'm with her because starting over is exhausting, and the one that stabbed the deepest. I can picture a life with you. I can't picture one with her that doesn't feel small. I stopped reading after that. My chest hurt so badly, I had to set the phone down. I walked into the bathroom, turned on the shower, and sat on the floor of the tub while scalding water sprayed over me. It didn't feel cleansing. It felt like punishment. When I finally crawled into bed, Mia woke up from the couch and came into my room. She didn't ask anything. She just sat down next to me and hugged me until the shaking stopped. The strange part? The next morning, I didn't cry. I felt empty, but empty like a clean plate, not a broken one. Because everything made sense now. The gaslighting, the defensiveness, the anger, the lack of remorse. He hadn't lied because he panicked. He had lied because he didn't see me as someone worth telling the truth to. That realization hurt more than anything. I didn't answer immediately. Not out of spite, not out of fear. I just needed time. 3 days later, I finally texted, me, why are you sending me this? Her reply came quickly, because he told me you were crazy. And I believed him until he said the same things about me. That sentence hit me like a quiet explosion. I think you and I deserve to know the truth. And I think he deserves to lose the narrative. I didn't answer. Something about her messages unsettled me. Not because she was cruel, or intrusive, or manipulative, because she was oddly invested. More invested than someone who had simply realized she'd been lied to. But I pushed that thought away. The final twist arrived 1 week later. It was a Sunday afternoon. I was cleaning Mia's tiny kitchen while she napped. Soft music played on her little Bluetooth speaker. Sunlight filtered through the blinds in warm stripes. My phone buzzed. A message. Not from Leo. Not from Ann. From another unknown number. Unknown. You should be careful who you trust. I frowned. Another message came. Unknown. Especially women with a single letter for a name. I froze. My pulse started racing. Then, unknown. What did she tell you? I swallowed hard and wrote, me, who is this? No answer for 20 long seconds. Then, unknown. Someone who knows Leo better than you do. A cold nervousness crept up my spine. Another message. Unknown. Ask yourself something. Why would it come clean so easily? Why would she reach out? Why would she send you everything? I stared at the screen. Unknown. People rarely confess out of guilt. They confess when they want something. I typed, fingers trembling. Me, what does she want? The reply came instantly. Unknown. The same thing Leo wanted. My stomach twisted. Me, which is? A pause. Then, unknown. Control of the story. I stared at the phone. My brain tried to assemble meaning, but nothing fit neatly enough to settle. Before I could type again, another message arrived. Unknown. Don't answer her again. And don't trust what she sent you. She's not who you think. I exhaled shakily. Me. Then who is she? The final message arrived like a stone dropped into dark water. Unknown. She wasn't the only one Leo told things to. My heart stopped. Unknown. Some of us were listening. I never received another message after that. I don't know who sent it. I don't know what it meant. I don't know what In's true intentions were. I blocked both numbers. I deleted the screenshots. I threw away the notebook where I had recorded everything. Not because I'm afraid. Not because I'm confused. Because I realized something. There are layers to every betrayal. Ones you uncover. Ones you can't. Ones you shouldn't. And the deeper you dig, the more you risk stepping into a place where the truth hurts more than the lie ever did. Leo cheated. He lied. He humiliated me. He manipulated both of us, me and In. That's enough truth for a lifetime. Whether In was a victim or an accomplice, I don't want to know anymore. Whether the unknown number was a friend, an enemy, or Leo himself, doesn't matter. There comes a point when closure is nothing more than a story you tell yourself to fall asleep. I don't need that story. I just need my life back. The secret final twist? 3 days ago, almost exactly 2 months after everything ended, I got a letter. A physical one. No return address. Just my name. Inside was a single piece of paper. No message. No explanation. Just a printed screenshot of a message from Leo to N. She'll never find out what you told me. And another message beneath it. I'll make sure she thinks it was all her fault. Nothing else. No signature. No clue who sent it. No context. Just that heavy, quiet truth. I walked away from Leo. But the story? The story is still walking behind me. And I don't know whose footsteps those are anymore.